Greetings pilgrims and welcome to another episode of the Polygon Pilgrimage, and today we are continuing with our Battle Royale series. So let's talk about what we're going to do, then we're going to discuss how we're going to do it, and then we're going to execute the plan. Alright, so what are we doing today? Well, we're going to put the UI and all of the art stuff on hold, and let's do some construction. So today we're going to make our buildings. Obviously with every Battle Royale you need to have buildings. This is kind of a staple of the genre. You have to have a place to loot and hide, right? So we're going to create this building as you see here from PUBG. So here we are in our scene, and we've got a whole bunch of stuff that I'm going to get into and show you here in a moment. But first we need to talk about some numbers. I know it's boring, but let's get it out of the way. So if you try to create doorways, door frames, buildings that are exact real world scale inside of Unity using the standard assets, which I'm assuming that you are if you followed this series from the beginning, it's not going to work. Those numbers are not meant for the controller we have here, so we need to plus those numbers up a little bit. And you'll see in the clip I'm showing now that when you run through a doorway, there's plenty of space, right? So even things like PUBG and obviously Fortnite have been exaggerated a little bit so that we never get stuck on a doorway when you're running from enemy fire. You just want to get in the doorway, get to the loot, grab a gun, and get battling, right? So we need to make sure that our doorways and our door frames are large enough that we're not going to get stuck on them as we pass through. So here we are inside of Unity, and I have a little example set up here, and I'm just going to hit play. On the left here we have a doorway that has been sized to normal world proportions, and as you can see, based upon our character controller here, it's just a little too short and a little too narrow. So this is our exaggerated proportions here that we'll be working with, and I'll tell you all the numbers and everything in just a moment. Don't worry about that. But we also have here these nice door frames that are inside of our doorway. So the doorway is going to be the opening here that we discuss, and then this door frame is a purely decorative piece here. I do have a door frame that I meticulously modeled here inside of Pro Builder for you, but this really nice wooden door frame, along with 4 more of its counterparts over here, are frames that will be available only to our patrons. So we did start a Patreon account, and this is not something that we're doing to make a bunch of money. This is just things to help out with, like running the website and, you know, paying for licenses, that kind of thing. So if you want to contribute and to help keep the pilgrimage running, we really appreciate it. The tiers are very small. They're just $2 or $5 a month, and you get all kinds of stuff for it. Behind the scenes access. You'll get to vote on upcoming projects, and you'll get things like this. When we do doors and door frames, you get 5 free door frames. And it comes with this nice model. It comes with a behind the scenes video of how I went about modeling it, so if you wanted to learn about the behind the scenes process. And with these 5 texture sets here with some really high quality textures up here, you can see we get some I believe that's chestnut wood, walnut wood, and we've got some metal, 2 metal doors. So we got all kinds of doors for our Patreons to say thank you very much for your support. Okay, so back to the episode here. Over here we've got our door frames, so we know that this size is not going to work, so we're going to go with a size like this. So now, along with our numbers here, we need to figure out the size of our doorway, but to do that, we're going to need our tools. So let's go ahead and get our tools sorted, shall we? So we're going to be using Pro Builder and Pro Grids. So for me, I'm using a later version of 2019 here for Unity, so I no longer have to get things entirely from the asset store. I go to Window, Package Manager, and I'm going to open that up. We'll give it a second to populate. There we go. And then just drag ourselves on down here into the P's. And you'll see here Pro Builder is already installed. I have version 4.1.0 if you'd like to follow along exactly. And then Pro Grids here, 3.0.3. And if you don't see it in the list, you can always search by it, and you can open up this advanced and say show everything. And just make sure you install both of those, and we should be all set. Now, if you're using an older version of Unity and you're still using the asset store, you can go to the asset store, do a search for Pro Builder, and this will come up. And as you can see, I've already downloaded it because otherwise this would say download. I already downloaded on August 15th. And then click import, and that will import it if you're using an older version where you don't have the package manager. Okay, now both of those versions should work and will follow along, and most of the functionality will be the same. Might be a few minor things that are different, but for the most part, you'll be just fine. Alright, so we have our doorways here, and I've done the math here. I've got my handy dandy notes here, so I know how big this doorway needs to be, but let's talk about how we create things with Pro Builder, right? So let's go up to Tools, Pro Builder, and I'm going to say Pro Builder Window, and it opens like this. Now yours might look like this at first with the text. I like to change it and use the icon mode. If you're using an older version, I don't think you have a choice. I think it is just the icons, so that's fine as well. For me, I like to dock my Pro Builder over here with my hierarchy. Makes sense, right? I'm building things with Pro Builder, and then I have the hierarchy here to use those things or to categorize those things. So I just put the two together. Then let's go up here to Tools, Pro Grids, and open the Pro Grids window. And it should look like this. We just click that and it opens up. We need to make one change. We're going to click on this number, no matter what it is, and make sure that it is this, 0.125, and then click Done. Okay? Now, make sure that it says on here in this third icon down. That means our snapping is on. So if I select this object here, you'll notice that when I move it, it kind of looks a little chunky, you know, chunk, 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 right that. Because what's happening here is it is moving, as you can see here, in 0.125 increments. There we go. Okay. So, enough yakking, let's get cracking. So, I'm going to go ahead and create our first object here in Pro Builder, the new shape tool. I'm just going to click it once, and the default is cube from this shape selector, but as you can see, there's a whole bunch of stuff you can create. I'm going to say, yep, just give me a cube, and I'm going to click Build Cube. You'll notice that my material was pink at first, and now it's snapped into the default Pro Builder material here, which we'll talk about in a second, which is really awesome. That's because I'm using the high definition render pipeline, and I had to update those materials to handle the HDRP. So you might have to do that as well if you're using 2019 HDRP. All right, so let's move our cube over here, and what I want to do is move our cube so that this bottom front corner here kind of lines up with the bottom of our doorway here. So let's do that. Just like that. There you go. Now, I'm going to go over the Pro Builder basic operations here. Anyone who is familiar with 3D modeling, this will be very familiar, but I'm going to pretend like you don't know anything about 3D modeling. So if you guys do, just go ahead and skip forward a little bit, but if you don't, so up here we have our 4 selection modes. The first one is Object, so this is the whole object. So I'm moving the whole cube here. Then we have Vertex, so the vertices are these corner points. Any point really that 2 or more edges come together creates a vertex. And then we can move those, and you can kind of see what that looks like. It's like you're just, you know, manhandling that one corner of the box, really. Then we have edges, and an edge is this, this, this. It's any 2 points between or more between 2 vertices creates an edge, and now we can do things like this. You can create like a ramp. Pretty cool. I'm going to Control Z, by the way, to go back. And then we're going to do face mode. And so the face mode, I can move the entire face. So I'm going to hold Control and click and drag, and you'll see that this is moving in those increments, and I'm going to stop there. So now we have our door frame, right? And so I'm using this here, and if you're not a patron and you're just following along, you won't have this, but I want to show you the numbers here. So this is 1.75, okay? I know that because if I go a little bit further, this is a 1.5, pardon me, and then this would be 2 right there. This material is really awesome, so let me explain why. These little registrars here will tell you how much of the shape is. So from this corner to this corner is obviously 1, and then it continues. And you can see here 1 meter. So then these little guys in the middle, this indicates the half mark. And then these little guys are like smaller versions of this, indicates the quarter mark. So that's how we can very quickly measure. And the material has a specialized shader to it that allows it to just kind of continue as I drag this. So that's how I can kind of measure things out. It's really super handy. Okay, so we know that our doorway, this is the shape that we want to be able to walk through. And again, yes, we've come in a little bit on that with this decorative piece, but don't worry about that, is 1.5, okay? So now, let's go around the back here, this side. I'm gonna grab this face, and we wanna move it to line it up with everything else here. So again, holding Control, click and drag, and I'm just going to click and drag until it snaps there. Now you'll notice that this is, I believe it's 0.25 is the distance, and we should be able to check that looking at our prototype here. And yeah, looks good. So from this corner, we get to this first registrar here, and there's that tiny little gap. So yeah, that's 0.25, and that's consistent with my notes here. All right, so let's grab the top face, and again, holding Control, I'm going to click and drag up until we get to the very top. And this should be 2.75 if I've done my math right here. So you can see here from the bottom here, 1, 2, and then it's not quite 1 again. If I were to move this, holding control again, up 1 more click, 2 more clicks, let's see. That's 2 1/2, 2 1/4, over a half. There you go. Yep. So this would be 1, 2 1/2 right there. Let's see. Oh, okay. I'm mismeasured a little bit. Pardon me. Not 2.75. 2.25 would be the top right there. There you go. So that's our door frame. Okay. Now this is our doorway, but we need to actually have some bits on the sides, like we had before, to actually have a door frame. So how do we do that? Okay. So we're going to select this face, and I'm going to hold Shift and click and hold. And you notice it says the word extrude on the screen. Now, if I let go of Shift, that's fine. I can move this around. But remember, we need to snap to our grid. So I'm going to move just a little bit and then hold Control and now continue to move. And now it'll snap. And I want to snap just 1 snap, just like that. You should get like a little box right here. That tells you that you've moved 1 unit, is our 0.125, from here to here, and the same distance from here to here. Okay, let's do the same thing on this side. We'll select this face. Now you might have trouble, I have trouble with this, with selecting. So I need to select this object and then say, I want to get this face here, but it's not working. It's because this object's in the way. It's a little confusing at first, but I'll go ahead and grab this guy and get him out of the way. There we go. Move that out of the way. So now when I select this and go to my face mode, it should be easier to select this face. There we go. Yep. All right. So again, I'm going to hold Shift, start to move, let go, hold Control, and make sure it snaps. Same thing on top. I'm going to select these top 3 faces, holding Shift to select these faces, hold Shift, drag a little bit, let go, hold Control, and then snap. And there we go. So now we have the initial shape was the shape of the doorway that we wanted, and now we've created some excess around those edges. So now let's select this middle face and hit backspace. Don't hit delete, because this is what happens. You delete your whole object, which is undoable, thankfully. So let me do this again. Select you, hit backspace, and that will delete the face. Okay. Now we also have to get this face that's under the ground. So I'm going to go underground here and look up at it from below to try to get that face. There he is. And grab that face, backspace. There we go. And then of course the face on the other side. So we'll go around and select that, backspace. There we go. Okay. So now we can walk through this, but obviously we can also see through it, which is not good. So we're going to fix it. Okay. So I'm going to go to my edge mode. I'm going to select this edge, hold Shift, and select this edge. And I use the bridge tool. So that is this guy here, bridge edges. It also says Alt B. I think I have some stuff remapped. It doesn't always work. Yeah, my Alt B is mapped to something else. So I'm just going to click the button. There we go. And bridge those faces. So the same thing here. Let's select and close this hole up here. There we go. And then at the top here. There we go. Okay, you've now modeled your first door frame. If we go to object mode, you can see you can take the whole object and move it around. Now this guy we could put back, and you'll see how this works. So there you go. So now the doorway is this whole thing, and the door frame is this little decorative bit here. And if we hit play, you should be able to walk around it and bump into it and everything, because it does colliders automatically, which is really cool. So if I walk straight on at it and I'm holding forward, oh, I slid past it a little bit, but I did get stopped there. As you can see, it pushes me to the side. So the colliders work nicely, and we can just walk right through. Very cool. Okay, so we have our door frame, we have our doorway, and everything is going well there. So next up, we're going to talk about the actual building itself and getting that going, okay? So now let's work on our overall building. So we've got our door frames over here all set. We need to start building our building. And you can see we have lots of space here, but what is this weird thing that's been hanging out over here, right? This guy right here. So this is a template that I made based upon the buildings. I'll show the clip here. The building that I was running through, that I took some measurements here. So what we've done is measured this building out based upon certain parameters, and what I did was I used the door frame as kind of a measurement, right? So kind of figure out, well, we know how big a door frame is, so then how big should other things be? So this is based upon that, and this will be a guide for us to make our building, okay? So I'm going to put that over here. So we need to create a overall structure here, and there's two ways we can do this. ProBuilder has some really nice tools to make this super easy, especially if you have a template already, like I have. But let's pretend we didn't have that, and we're going to do it the old-fashioned way at first, okay? So I'm going to create a new shape here, and I'm going to create a cube, and I happen to know how big I want this cube to be. So I'm going to type those numbers in. It's going to be 20 by 0.125, right, by 15.5. I'm going to say build cube. All right, so that's pretty specific, right? But this is the overall shape of that whole template. It fits that whole template. So now I'm going to put this where it needs to go, and I think I wrote this down, but maybe I didn't. But we need to put this into basically the center of the scene here because we want to work on it, right? So we know that it's 20 wide, so to get it kind of centered there, we would do it at -10. And then we know that it's 15.5, so that would be like 7.5 to get it right in the center there, something like that, just to kind of get it more in the center of the world here. Okay, so we've seen all the tools we need to create this, so now how do we go about doing that? So I'm going to bring my template over and I'll show you how this works. So we bring our template and I'm going to bring him down on top of this, and we can bring him right over to the edge. Boom. He should line up perfectly if I've done all my math correctly. There we go. Very cool. Okay, so we have two options. We have the template here, which I'm going to have to raise it up just a little bit because otherwise it does that weird flickering thing that I don't like. So we're going to just make a bunch of cuts into this. I have a diagram that I'll put on the screen here. So this diagram shows you all the distances involved. So you'll be able to download this diagram and use it as well as if you like. But what I'm going to do is here in the scene, I'm just going to go ahead and do a little time-lapse speed-up thing here of me cutting all the edges. But I'll show you how it works first. So in order to cut these edges, I'm going to select my object, go into edge mode, and I'm going to click and drag across the whole thing. So I'm going to make a cut this way, right? So I'm going to click and drag, which means I've selected technically 4 edges because it's this edge, the one right beneath it, and then these two on this side. And what I want to do is create a new edge. So here is insert edge loop, they call it, right? Connects all edges in a ring around the object. That's what we want. So I'm going to click that once, and there we go. Now if I hold control and drag along this, now I'm on the grid, and I can put this anywhere I like. So for example, let's come all the way over here to the corner, and I want to still be able to see my handles here, but if I hold control and I put myself right in the corner, there we go. So now I'm right at the corner and I'm right in line with this. So as you can see, I've got that, no problem. So let's do it again. And it says that our tool here gives us a tooltip of Alt and U. So let's try that one out. Alt and U, and it doesn't work for me because I think I have, again, I have other things set up with my keys already. So yeah, that's not working for me. So that's okay. I'm going to go ahead and click that. And it should be good. Come on. Select all those edges and then insert an edge loop. There we go. Okay, so what I'm going to do is just follow on this vertical here. So we got that line there. So the next place that we need a line is in line here. This is the door to the bathroom, right? So I'm going to hold control and just click and drag until it lines up with that line there. Now it might be just a little bit difficult to see with this template floating like this. As you can see here, like, does it go there or does it go one further over? Especially with this lighting. This lighting doesn't do any favors for this. But you can refer to the guide and you can just follow along with those numbers, and everything should work out fine as far as the numbers. So we'll just go ahead and create a couple more. Create this guy here. And I'm just going to very loosely, I'm not going to follow exactly right now. I'm just going to very loosely just kind of get into the groove of it. You can see here, don't forget you need to go inside as well. That line there. Cut this, come on. Cut, there we go, thank you. So just a little finicky. There we go, something like that. So we're going to do all of these cuts, and then you'll do cuts this way, lining up with these lines. So I'm going to go ahead and do that really quick, and I'll be right back. Okay, so I've finished up all of that, and now let's take a look at what we've got. So we're going to have to move our template out of the way a little bit because you cannot select through it as we saw earlier. which is a little annoying, but we're going to use it as a general guide. So I'm going to put this guy right over here, and we'll just use him as a reminder. So now, with this object, if I go ahead and select my faces, what we want to do is, we can do any kind of cleanup we need to, but what we want to do right now is select everything that's going to be a wall. So starting right here, this is the entrance. I know it's hard to see, but I'm going to select this face, this one, this one, this one, and this is the outer wall here, right there, okay? So starting with a corner is good. We know this is the outer wall, this wall up here, and then here is the bathroom. So I gotta skip this part here, this guy here, this guy here, this guy here. Now I know that that is my corner where the bathroom is. See here, I went right around that corner so that I can follow up and around. So using this as a guide, and I've done this a few times, so I should get it mostly right. We're gonna select this guy. So that's part of window here. That right there continues. I believe that's also part of the window, and then that's the actual window itself. There we go. And then yeah, this continues all the way to the corner here. And you can make up your own mind. You can decide, you know, you want more windows, less, whatever you like, and it's all very much changeable. So when we come up here, it's not this one, but it's the next one that becomes the actual wall here. And you can see here, I can see already that I kind of messed that up, that these lines are too thick. That's okay. We can change that down the road even. It doesn't even matter right now. So we can select those. And we do want a doorway in there, right there. So I'm going to skip that spot right there. I'm just holding control as I click on through here. Now I need to figure out where this doorway is, and it's kind of catty-cornered to this one. I think he's right there. So these lines get a little blurry when you get too far away. So I'm going to select that. I'm going to skip that one. There we go. And you'll get some fine ones here when you have doorways like that. No big deal. All the way to the corner. There we go. And then this wall, I happen to know, is right there. Yep, so that wall is this guy here. There we go. So that's a wall, and then the rest of it's pretty easy. Let's see here. Let's unselect you. Just shift and click again if you need to unselect. So we do need our doorway and our window there. So we know that this is the doorway here, this space. And then this is the corner. And then you have the window rather. So I'm going to skip that face entirely and go right to here. There we go. So I'm just selecting, oops, there you go. Selecting everything. Let's do this. Everything that's going to become a wall, because we're just going to extrude it upwards all at once. Okay, so that's all good. That's all good. Those are good. What we need to do is select here. Skip that one. Oh, didn't get you yet. There we go. Just kind of take your time. Make sure you get everything. And once you've done this a few times, you'll get into a real practiced hand at it. There we go. Okay, so that's everything. Now, what we do want to do also is select anything that's going to be a window. So I'm going to select this guy here. And then over here, this guy here as well for now, right? And I'll show you why. So now I'm going to hold shift again and pull up. And you can see our building just takes shape. Isn't that so awesome, right? Okay, I'm just going to let go for right now and look around, make sure we got everything right. Front door around into the bathroom. This main room into this room through that doorway. This is going to be a door. This is a window here into this room. There we go. Okay, so what we need to do here is determine whatever height we want our windows to be. I was trying to think of the word. So I'm just going to kind of arbitrarily pick like something like that's pretty good. Okay, so now I can go and find my windows again now. So using this guide, we're going to skip that section there. I believe this is what I wanted to be a window, and I'm going to unselect anything that was a window. Unselect that. There we go. And now let's do another extrusion. So hold shift and click and drag and let go. And again, we'll just snap this to a grid point at the moment. I'm just going to say like that's good. There we go. So that's our door frames as far as like we framed in the bottom of the windows there, right? And then we're just going to have to do to the top. But we want to make sure that we do this right and we have the right shape to it. So I'm going to try to, can I select this object here? And let's move him over. Oh, no. You, sir. I would like your help. Come over here. Oh, not you. Oh, but I guess kind of you. Yeah. We'll use you. This is our door frame from earlier, as you can see. We'll move him over here. And this is one way you can test to make sure that you put all your lines in the right place. And if you didn't, it's super easy to fix. I'll show you that in just a second. So let's move this guy into place, something like that. And again, he's going to have to come up one click because remember, we have our building here is 0.125 up from the ground. Just to give you a little bit of a lip in case you've got terrain going on, that kind of thing. It'd be nice and easy to fix. Okay, so as you can see, our doorway here is not wide enough, so we can fix that very easily. And all of these faces here, we need to reselect these faces and just move them down a click. Unfortunately, I don't think there's a way to do selection sets. There might be, and I just don't know it, but having like a selection set would be really nice. I'm just looking through the tools here. I don't know of one at the moment, so that's something that I can learn. That's always fun. And we'll select those faces because doing it by hand again here is very tedious. But if you select your faces, it's a little easier now that you are confident as to what is a wall and what is not. But essentially, we'll go through and select these, and we will just move them down. So holding, again, our control, click down, down, until we're like right there where we need to be, right? And again, I don't know why he's not lining up exactly. I did have a problem with this just a moment ago before recording where it was not snapping again, and it was the ProBuilder object itself had an issue. So, but that's how you would fix it, is by moving your faces down once again. And the same can be said for this face here, for the wall here. If you need to extend this wall, if this was wrong, that's fine. We just hold control and say, there we go. Move you over. Move out of my way. So we're going to select these faces real quick and just fix this wall, because I want to show you a completed doorway and window as well. So hold control and bring that down. Again, that should be snapping entirely. You notice how even these two are not correct now. So of course, right at the end of my recording here, it's starting to fight me. Why wouldn't it, right? See, that should be snapping right to the middle of that, and it is not. And that's okay. So then once we have these all correct, which ProBuilder seems to be tired, we're going to select these faces, and again, we're going to hold shift and drag up again. And the idea is we just go to whatever height we want to be the complete height. Okay, there we go. So final two steps to complete our building here is we need to fill in these gaps above, right? So we've left these faces on purpose for this gap. So let's go ahead and select this face and hit backspace. Remember, backspace, not delete. And again, we're going to do the same trick here. We're going to use our edges and select this edge and this edge. And I'm going to choose my tool here to bridge the edges. Again, Alt plus B if you don't have things mapped like I do. There we go. So we can select those two things. And boom, bridge those edges across. Same thing on this side. Now make sure when you select, sometimes these edges it likes to select, I might be pointing here, but see it's choosing the one behind. So just take your time, make sure you're selecting it correctly. There we go. And again, we need to also do down here. So see how it's doing this? So what I have to do is select somewhere else and then come back and say I want this one and this one and bridge those edges. There we go. So that would be like a door, or I mean, sorry, a window. So just make sure that you figure out how many units you want from whatever distance. So from the ground, measure up to what is a comfortable height for you, and then from the ceiling down, measure the same thing. And I'm going to do the same thing here as we close here. I'm going to go ahead and do this. So I want to thank you guys for watching today and for following along. I apologize, this took a while to get out to you. As you can hear in my voice, I'm still not quite well, but I didn't want you guys to wait too long for some content. So here we go, we have this, and what I'm going to do is finish off this building for you guys. You will have one building as a free download, and then the Patreons will have two buildings that will come to them, and you guys will also have access to our template here. Now the template, one thing I want to show you with the template, which is pretty cool, is these tools in ProBuilder. So let's take a look. So let's say, okay, ugly house, I'm done with you. Let's move you along, right? You've served me well, but not well enough. So now, template house. Here's a neat trick. So we went through all of that together to show you how the tools work, how you can do it with a custom setup. But now, what if you had a template like this to work with? Wouldn't that be nice? So first things first, let's go ahead and give this a new material, and you'll see why in a second. So let's go ahead and create material. Literally just a blank material is fine. So go to my hierarchy here, make sure I'm selected on my template, and say just give me this material. The reason being I want it to be solid. The material that comes with it is semi-transparent so that you can see through it on purpose. Okay. So now we have this template here. ProBuilder supposedly has an option to ProBuilderize an object. That's what they call it. So I'm going to go here to ProBuilder, and there should be a tool here, geometry. Maybe it's under experimental. That would be neat, huh? No. Strip all ProBuilder objects. That's pretty cool. Is it under my object? ProBuilderize. So it won't let me select that for this object. I wonder why. It's not telling me why either. But ProBuilder is very good about being context sensitive. So as you're selecting objects, you see the options change based upon what it has selected. Maybe it's because this object is already a prefab and it doesn't like that. Let's try one more thing. I'll bring a fresh copy into the scene of just this object and see if we can ProBuilderize it. Is that ProBuilderize? There we go. Okay. Again, ProBuilder has been a little finicky of late for me, especially right when I'm recording a tutorial, right? So let's move this guy over here and we will delete this old one. Okay, so now this object has been ProBuilderized. So it should be labeled something like cube, or no, it kept its original name. Perfect. And the reason this is awesome, in short, is I can now select by face, and all of these faces are what we need. And then you just hit hold shift and click up, and there you go. Now I didn't select all faces there, but you see the idea here is that very quickly you could just bring in a model that is like a template, and then it's already done all those like lines and figured out all that stuff for you. And if you can successfully select all the faces at once, I don't know, maybe why is it not selecting all the faces at once? See, ProBuilder is having a hissy fit now. But you can select all these faces and then pull them all up at once. So if I just select, and I'm holding shift, but it's not wanting to. That's pretty cool though. You can do different sets like that. But the idea is you bring in the object here and you can do it all at once, which means you can do all this math and figuring out the size of all the walls and things and make sure it's precise in another application, and then bring it into this application and then do it with this. That's pretty cool. So I will offer this to you as well so you can have this to use. So you just bring it in here, ProBuilderize it, and if you just go through in here, just select all the faces like this. You only have to do it one time. The advantage of this also is that this object now is one object, whereas for just the walls, whereas this object is the walls and the floors all as one object, which you might want, but you might want to maybe separate the walls if you want to say do like a different building gets built on the same plot, something like that. You could do different options that way. So just a couple of options for you guys. So I'll leave you with that. Again, thank you guys so much for watching and for sticking with me with this one. It's been a lot, but I wanted to give you guys something high quality, well thought out. The tools are presented well and explain things in detail because a lot of people just kind of gloss over it. So thank you so much for watching. And again, if you're interested in joining the Patreon, we do have some extra stuff available already. We have these 5 doorways. We will have 2 buildings ready for you, and we will have behind the scenes videos of both the creation of this episode and for the creation of the doorways. So some behind the scenes stuff for you and a lot more coming down the pipe. So again, thank you guys so much for watching. Until next time, guys, keep practicing, get better, and I'll see you next time as the pilgrimage continues.